things I see from mainstream media right now is they don't sound the alarm. And I was having a good conversation the other day, and I think the reason that they don't sound the alarm, if you've ever seen the movie Don't Look Up, or if you've ever seen anything like this about huge tragedies or world-ending tragedies, what interest, ask yourself, if you watch or read mainstream media, New York Times, any major publication, anything, what is their interest in the truth over virality? So I've spoken with people that think that these things are, mainstream media institutions are above this, oh, well, it's all about the money. They are not. They are just better at pretending they are. Otherwise, they would tell you that the sky is falling because the sky is falling. I'm sorry. Anybody who doesn't understand that this American project has fundamentally changed is just a silly person at this point. You haven't done the research to figure out that this American project has fundamentally changed. That is your fault. You can say, well, oh, my mainstream media didn't say it yet. Ask yourself, would they ever? Would it ever lead to more subscribers? Would it ever lead to more money? Would it ever lead to them seeing profit, which is all that matters, if they were to tell you that the world was ending? If they were to tell you to panic, now is the time. Stop reading this publication and go out and fucking do something. No. It's much easier to pretend that everything is inside the guardrails and everything will continue to go as it was. Meanwhile, we can take a look here. Judges are being arrested for what they do in their court. Mind you, before the Trump era, judges were given an extreme amount of deference when it came to their courtroom. An extreme amount, to the point where there is precedent on case law where a judge ordered the defending, I'm pretty sure it was the defending lawyer, beaten by his bailiffs for showing up late. The lawyer showed up late, did so enough times that the judge punished him by having his bailiffs beat that person for the lateness. Do you understand? And this was deemed okay for judges to do. I think that's a little too far, but we have flipped it now, and now a judge does something the executive doesn't like, and they make an example out of you. Anyone who isn't screaming these stories, anyone who isn't screaming the next story down, so the big one here is, we'll see what happens with this first judge. Basically, she, quote, aided and abetted, or obstructed justice when allowing an immigrant to leave through a separate door, and the ICE agents weren't able to capture them right away, or FBI is the one who actually made the claim, but they weren't able to get them right away, and then were able to track them down afterwards. So nothing really happened, but just the obstruction of justice was enough to arrest her. What is it really about? That's the question with anything like this that's probably not going to stick. What is it really about? Intimidation. How many other judges, when they're looking at their decisions, when they're looking at what the Trump admin they didn't do anything too bad on this one. I'll save it for the next one. I don't want to be in trouble with this one, but I'll save it for the next one. We start getting biased rulings this way. When judges are intimidated and scared of saying what is right or what they think is right, that's when you have a very dangerous situation. And then when you see the White House press secretary, Karen Leavitt, hold on, let me see if it'll pull up. Had a little freeze there. So we see Carolyn Leavitt here asked directly if she would. So let's just see. We got a transcript here, so let's do it. You guys arrested a Milwaukee City Council judge for allegedly helping illegal immigrants get away. As you guys look at other judges, would you ever arrest somebody higher up on the judicial food chain, like a federal judge or even a Supreme Court justice? Quoting Leavitt here. That's a hypothetical question. Again, I defer you to the Department of Justice for individuals that they are looking at or individual cases. But let's be clear about what this judge did. She obstructed federal law enforcement who were looking for an illegal alien in her courthouse. She showed that illegal alien the door to evade law enforcement officials. That is a clear-cut case of obstruction. And so anyone who is breaking the law, obstructing federal law enforcement officials from doing their so, is putting themselves at risk of being prosecuted. Absolutely. That's what she said. So in a direct asked question, asked whether or not they would be willing to arrest Supreme Court justices that disagree with them, she said, well, we got to do what we got to do. If you don't, and this, mind you, this would not be the story it was if we weren't in the context right now of the executive standing in defiance of a 9-0 decision from the Supreme Court. Right now. Right now. So what she's saying there is like, oh, well, we have our jurisdiction. I defer you to the Justice Department about these individual cases and stuff like that. She obstructed federal law enforcement, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you are not following a court order.
from the Supreme Court, no less. Not any old order, not the TROs that have been coming from every federal judge in the book, and you can just ignore those because those are Democrats or whatever. But no, your Supreme Court 9-0 has come this way. Why on earth are we now standing here and pretending like this is normal? Where is the mainstream media freak out? Don't get me wrong, I don't do it. I don't read that garbage. It is hot trash, and anyone that you recommend to me is a fucking rag. And I refuse, I am over saying that these institutions, which they shouldn't even be, they are pillars of shit. They are nothing real. They are a facade, a fugazi. They are fake, fairy dust. It doesn't land anywhere. It's just pretending to be in the middle and pretending things are normal until the world ends. Do you understand? Like, that is what these people, there is only money in people coming back and continuing their subscriptions. And not only telling people the truth is difficult to do, but people don't like it. People don't like when you give them the most accurate picture of things, because sometimes that's a little too dark. You got to add a little sugar with the medicine. You got to zhuzh it up a little bit. These people have been lost in the sauce and lost in the sugar for too long. There is way too much normalcy here. If you ever wonder if the institutions that I name, especially the New York Times, if you ever wonder why I have such hatred, such vilification for these, ask yourself a couple simple fucking questions. Hey, Chris talks about Reuters and the Associated Press like they're doing better. I wonder why he thinks that. Ask yourself this question. Why did they lose their White House press passes and New York Times did not? Is it because the New York Times knows to not ask those questions that'll get them kicked out? If so, why the fuck are you in there asking questions? Why would I care for you to ask the questions if you are metering your questions back? You are holding your questions back to have more digestible for this fucking fascist regime questions. You are giving some amount of credence, some amount of normalcy to this because you are still in the room. Why aren't you standing with your fellow brothers? Why aren't you standing with your fellow press? Because you are trash, because you are dog water, because you are beyond the pale on the side of the enemy at this point. At this point, if you are these people in this, I don't hold this standard for every single individual, because I know that there are so many individuals in my life especially. I know tons of people who just want to wake up, go to work, do a good thing, make the world a little bit better place, and then go home to their family happy, healthy, and safe. That's what they're maybe safe first. Priorities being different for everybody, but safety and health up there, and then having your family be happy with what you can provide them. That is what people want, and they don't want to worry about all the politics or whatever. I don't hold this against them. This level of vilification is only for people who are paid professionally and could do more. They are sponsored. Do you understand that's what it is? We've gotten away with it, with capitalism and money and all that stuff. These people are sponsored. Me, you, everyone else. We pay our money that we spend doing real fucking work. We spend our money to give subscriptions to these people, so they are sponsored. They don't have to do that work. They can sit in front of a computer and tippy type away all day long because we have sponsored that for them. We have allowed that the company pays them or whatever, but the company is able to pay them because we have these subscriptions, because we are leading into this, because you are buying into this. You are feeding this network of people that sit around and then just, oh, well, we need them coming back in. We need them coming back in. Your one job, you sit there and you are supposed to search for the truth. That's your one job, and you have lost it completely. You are so far gone into this, well, everything, we have to find the middle ground on everything. To borrow from Destiny, just because I think it's the best one, because it's a little crass, but it gets right to the heart of it. The New York Times is the middle ground between any two positions on the right and left. They choose the middle every time. What if the position was, me, Chris, and my Democrats want to rape 0 people. We want 0 people to be raped. We want no rape happening. And the Republicans say, we want 10 rapes to happen because we think if there's a little bit of rape, it'll be better for society, because we think women will be a little bit more scared and they'll act a little bit more right. We think raping is good. New York Times says, let's rape 5 people and call it even. Why are the Democrats saying 0 when we gave them the easy out of 5? And why are the Republicans being so ridiculous? They want 10, we want 5. Get half, and then the Democrats are willing to come 5x. They're willing to come so far. This is the middle ground. No people should be raped. You should do a better job. That's not your job as a fucking journalist. That's not your job. It is some dedication to truth. I've had this argument recently. Oh, do they stand for truth or do anything like that? Not in the form that they currently stand in. They stand for money. They stand for value. They stand for profit and nothing else. Nothing. Show me the New York Times journalist that's sent back from the war zone with their organs cut out because they were tortured, like the Ukrainian journalist who went out of her way to go to Russian kill sites, to go to Russian black sites, to go to CIA black sites, to go to the areas where the really bad shit is happening that you don't want to fucking acknowledge, that the New York Times will not acknowledge. They may have this story about this person, but are they losing journalists in the field? Are they losing their press secretary badges? Are they taking any sacrifice? Is there anything happening for this? Or are they just mealy-mouthed middlemen that are standing there and waiting for the chips to fall so they can tell you what you already know? That is what the New York Times delivers to you. It waits for its people to make up their minds and then puts out what 70% believe so that the Republicans say, oh, well, the Times said it, and the Democrats can say, oh, well, at least the Times said it. You are doing nothing. Nothing is accomplished here. This is a rag. Not to just single the Times, but I have been specifically recommended it more than a few times for an objective source to go to get an accurate picture. And this could be nothing further from the truth. The fact that they are held so high is why my vilification is so high. If they were held down here with a fucking... Take your fucking pick. Tim Pool or whoever, dickhead influencer, whoever's paid off by Russia, or whoever misinformation peddling shit show. If you were in that level and people talked about you there, that is where you belong. That is what you put out. You put out puff pieces about RFK. You put about all these things. You don't talk about the anti-vax. You talk about, oh, well, there's a difference in opinion, blah, 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 blah. You mealy-mouthed bullshit middlemen sit down here in the mud, but people think you're up here, and it's disgusting. You do not belong up here. You belong down there with everyone else, and then let people rise. Let some people who are able to reach this standard be at that standard, but including you here brings everyone down to your fucking level. No reason we don't, no wonder we don't have any Tom Brokaws. No wonder we don't have any speakers of truth or somebody who can give it to you the way it is and remove the bias or leave the bias at the door for a little bit, or at least give you some type of fucking genuine something, because this is what we have it replaced with, and it is simply for the money. And if you ever thought it was any different, ask yourself these tough questions. Why aren't they taking hits the way other news organizations are taking hits for asking tough questions, for being in the room and asking things? Why won't the Times commit to this?